I am so glad that you're here joining me today on Smart Takes.
Thank you.
We have had some really fun people come and join us, including your partner in crime and Creative
She's on
Crime.
here a lot.
She was on here a lot, and she really hosts a lot, probably better than I do. So we'll just see how well I do it.
You're going to do great. You're going to do great.
But I really am excited to have you because we've done great work over a number of years together, and it's been an amazing brand. And I think that I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you've done most recently.
Okay.
But let's start and go back a few years and tell me some of your best memories of the brands that we've worked on, and we'll just sort of talk a bit about those.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So I've been here a long time. We've worked together a long time, but I've also been here a long time.
Yeah.
I think I'm in my 29th year here.
You've been here a little longer than me.
So it's been a minute. It's been a lot of brands. It's been I've learned a lot about a lot of industries over that and time. And but I have to say, the fact that the work changes and the clients change a lot, that's what keeps it fun and interesting and challenging. So I love that about the business. But well, I think one of the first brands we worked on together might have been the lottery.
I think that's right.
So that was a super fun brand to work on. That was an entertainment brand. I think, you probably know the numbers better, but we did really well with the sales.
Sales were tremendous. And it was, we were tasked with the budget was not going up. We had them for a number of years. It never went up, but the sales went up every day. Yeah. And we've talked about this so many times, it does benefit education. And it was, so you felt good about it.
Right.
And we did some really great work.
We did. It was an interesting, brand to work on. A lot of humor involved, and so we got to do some really fun, kind of more outlandish, kind of pushing the envelope stuff. So that creative was really fun to create and to work on.
And in some ways on the Florida Lottery, we had a small budget to work with, and we did an outstanding job. Almost you're more creative sometimes when you don't really have as much to work with.
Yeah. I mean, any challenge you layer onto creatives, we'll find our way out of that box.
Well, so I just love the work, and I loved, and you and Kristen just did such a great job, and there were just so many fun things that we did on that. But you and I've worked for, like we said, about 15 years together. So let's talk about our next favorite brand. What would that be?
Let's see. We worked on Zaxby's a long time.
We did.
We did a lot of that. The fast casual food industry is an interesting place, highly competitive.
Right.
The creative, though, can be kind of same old. You got to show the food. Everyone's say what you have.
It's got to be beautiful food.
Got to be beautiful. I've done more food shoots than I can count.
Right.
That's a whole other podcast, but that's an interesting exercise. Shooting food specifically is really interesting. A little more scientific than people probably realize.
Oh, and I would say a lot of agencies don't necessarily know how to shoot food, and they don't know who to go to get the most mouth-watering, craveable food. And we really used incredible food photographers, and it was so much fun. But we also told great stories.
We did, and again, another brand that allowed us to do some fun humor. Which my writer partner, who's on here a lot, Kristen. We worked together on all that stuff, and it was fun. We did, and we were. Once we got into the kind of using celebrities to deliver our message for us, really worked well for Zaxby's. It was a great kind of platform to be on, and every quarter we were looking for new celebrities, and
every quarter we were increasing same-store comp sales. Every quarter we were increasing traffic. We were increasing stores. I mean, we took them from like 110 stores.
Ran 10 years.
I saw it. Oh,
yeah, maybe longer. I know we did celebrities for a long time.
It started with real people and real stories, and then it went into real celebrities and their stories, and then it kind of went into the promotional effort behind the celebrity and where they fit the unique piece so much.
Yeah, so there was always some connective tissue between who we chose as the celebrity and the spots that we wrapped around. So if it was a country singer, or we had like Chris Kattan from Saturday Night Live, we had Clay Matthews was a football player at the time. So the people were relevant, and then we connected them to the whatever product we happen to be selling during that quarter to boost those sales. Whereas it's a sensation salad or whatever, we always.
And you're remembering the sensation salad because we shot with Thomas Rhett and Brett Eldridge, and they were really just getting ready to explode.
Yeah.
And they did it for us, and it happened to be that he won, Thomas Rhett won the country music, a singer, songwriter that year. So literally, when we aired the spot, he was winning on the Country Music Award. Yeah, so it was really exciting.
Good timing, obviously something we couldn't have predicted at that time when we were shooting, but we, got the benefits of that. The brand did.
Well, you knew he was up and coming. And definitely, we were working with an agent that we're really pretty much saying this is going to be gold if you can get him, and we did, and we were really it was one.
And he was over the moon to do it. I do remember him being so ecstatic, and he was obsessed with Zaxby's. We would have to you can't actually eat the product every take. You're going to get sick. Yeah, you're going to have to put the chicken finger down. Yeah,
well, I've told this story before, but when he walked in, he was with his now wife, and she was so cute, and he literally seriously shed a tear because he said, I can't believe all the good things that are happening to me, something like that. And he said, when I was a little boy, I, would go to Georgia, Valdosta, and see my grandmother. And the first place we would always go was Zaxby because we didn't have one in Nashville. Yeah. And he said, and I just can't believe I'm going to do this shoot. Yeah. And it was so exciting for him. And it meant the world to us that he cared so much. And he did do a great job. Yeah. Well, we were talking about, you mentioned Chris Kattan. We shot some interesting things with him. And one of the things I want to talk about today is the work that we just did on Florida Prepaid, which really is all about saving for college and really finding an emotional tie to a parent who feels overwhelmed almost when you have this little baby and they let you take it home. And then you start thinking it's not just a 24-hour responsibility. But
I've got 18 years of this.
I've got to look for their future.
Does it ever end?
It never ends. You've got little ones still in. Mine are my last one just graduated from college. So it never ends. You're always going to care about them and worry about them. But I think that's what we were able to lean into, this agency in Florida Prepaid and the work that we did. And one of the reasons that I think it's interesting you brought up Chris Kattan is because we shot a lot of children with him for Zaxby's.
We did.
And it was an interesting, talk a little bit about sort of the not necessarily difficulty, but children are just going to say whatever they want to say.
Right. I mean, they're unpredictable creatures.
Right.
So, and over the course of time, we, with Zaxby's, we had them in some of our spots. We had Make-A-Wish, we shot a lot of kids with that. So, over the course of time, we've kind of, gotten some experience working with kids, and you kind of learn as you go along the way what you're looking for in casting.
Right.
Kids are who they are. They aren't necessarily going to perform at the range of an adult.
Right.
So you kind of get what you get in casting. So,
you can see it there. Then you
can just take that and make it a little bit more refined or a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. But they're not going to go, okay, sound frustrated and then sound, ecstatic. They're depending on the age, they're not going to necessarily be able to make that leap. But we've, with the work of late with Florida Prepay,
you've done incredible work. And I think one of the things that I really loved about it, and we'll show a minute of it in a minute, is that you used children in a way that really did pull at the heartstrings of the parent. You really reminded us of the things that we go through every day with children, and you were telling real stories that everybody could relate to.
Yeah. So we've, with Florida Prepay, we do a lot of research. We have a pretty good pulse of what is going through parents' heads. I mean, almost everybody that works on the brand is a parent.
Right.
So we are experiencing it ourselves. And then on top of that, we're always doing, quick little surveys and stuff like that just to see what's on the minds of our actual customers. Of course that, and, social media also provides us a ton of information and, social listening and what parents are concerned about, and stuff like that. So,
and I want to kind of remind people, if they are not familiar with Florida Prepaid, one of the great things that it does is it allows parents, very, young parents, to put away for their college through a 529 for the state. And it is very affordable with a very small required amount. And every year we do this big run to get that enrollment so that they'll sign up and they'll have that ability to provide a year or 2 years or maybe even more of college in the state of Florida. So it's a great service that the state of Florida provides.
Yeah.
And it goes back to, there is such a emotional feeling that you feel when you have a baby, and you feel so responsible for guiding their life, for more than 18 years, as I've said. So I'd love to understand a little bit about the premise of the spots that you just created and the campaign, and then talk a little bit about the interesting way that you layered and shot this.
Yeah. So just in general, when we started open enrollment, which is, the enrollment period that we launch a big campaign every year. This year we did a little rebrand. We did a big rebrand. But the premise, the strategy on the creative brief was education for all. This brand is for everyone. If you're a parent, you can save for college. And it might not be a 4-year university. It might be trade school. Parents are one of the things that we've learned is parents get very overwhelmed, including myself.
Right.
Oh, how do I do this? I have 2 kids. Can I afford it? There's all these questions about, how am I going to fit this in my budget? Right. It's a little bit overwhelming. So we did, I think, 5 spots for open enrollment. Some of them touched on that. One was kind of big brand anthem kind of vibe, which played very much into education for all. So, we're for the grinders, we're for the savers, we're for the spenders, we're for all the people, and you can do this, right? So it's kind of, casting a wider net. Then we kind of got a little bit more specific, and we started to address some of the concerns that we heard, through our social listening and through some of our research that, parents are, concerned if those actual questions, can they do enough? So we had a spot that directly addressed that, inner dialogue with a mom, and there's a stuffed animal that we did in CG and is helping mom through this conversation, right? And so that was great. And that was interesting to work on because there was no elephant in the room. She's talking to a stick, basically. And so we did all that in work in CG before we shot the spot in the practical part of the spot. And then the rest of them, we did a lot of, work with kids, real live children on set. And again, they're unpredictable. So, we do the whole casting thing. Some of them are babies, you're casting babies. You have to actually cast 2 babies because babies can only be on set, I think, 30 minutes. I don't know the actual number, but very small windows of time. Right. Infants can be on set and being in front of the camera. So, there's a lot of logistics, a lot of challenges that come with shooting kids, but they connect. They're the connective tissue. That's what kind of pulls at the heartstrings of parents is seeing the kids, I think. And so the one spot that I'm really proud of that we did, it's called Freeze. It's just an internal name. Nobody calls it that. But it was very interesting because we had to shoot that in a lot of layers. And the premise to that was, as a parent, and I'm kind of in this window. I have an 11 and almost 8-year-old, and time is going by so fast. And I really wish there are days I just want to freeze time.
Right.
And just stop my world from evolving because I just want to take this moment in, right?
Yes.
Well, every parent feels that. Well, when you put that in context of saving for college, you're like, oh, I wish I could freeze time so I could, go back and save a little money because I started too late. It's really what happened to me. But anyway, so the spot though is very interesting. We shot it in layers. And literally the premise of the spot is a mom is kind of delivering the dialogue, walks through a scene, and her whole world stops. And kids are frozen in motion. So it's a little kid dressed like a little bear jumps off the stairs and he's midair, right? We have a volcano exploding on the kitchen counter with 2 little girls like recoiling in horror as lava shoots all over the house. We have a little boy, who's terrorizing his sister with a Nerf gun.
Real life stories.
Real life, right? So this is a scene of like an average, like we are at my house. I have 2 children, but I feel like I have 8. There's always kids at my house,
right.
And that's what my house looks like on any given day. There's just
and the
chaos, and it's fun, and it's it's exciting. So it's kind of slice of life, right, for a parent.
Yeah.
And as she comes through the scene, she's talking about freezing time and making sure parents like this is going to go by really quick.
Right.
So you should start to save, right? And saving, it's never too late to start,
And it's not, it's very affordable.
It is very affordable. Yeah. So they basically have two products. One is a locked in price, but you also freeze the cost of college. So from that on, right? So you are guaranteed to pay for whatever you bought 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, right? Those will be there and ready and waiting for your child, assuming you made all the payments when they are ready to go to college. The other product is an investment account. So you put in what you want to put in, right? You put in $10 a month, you can put in $50 a month, you can put in $500 a month, whatever and it's flexible. You can change that payment over time. You just do what you need to do. And to get to the number that you want to get to, or that you can get to.
Right.
And I think there's a stat about kids that go to can make it through their first year of college are like 70% more likely to graduate. Once you get there and they see the opportunity and the potential, and the parents do as well, you just make it happen.
Right.
People just make it happen. Right. Like, so.
And there are all kinds of programs once they get there that can, once they've had a year under their belt.
So you have school counselors and you're engaged in the school now, and they want you to succeed. So they're helping. The school's helping, your family's helping. However, you're potentially taking out loans. But, this product is to avoid debt. Right. I mean, it's a big concern for parents.
It's to give them their first step in for that first year or that second year. And if you've got a really, energetic saver, you might be able to buy 3 or 4. But at any rate that you look at it, it gives them that first start in college, whether it's a 2-year program or it's a technical school or it's a 4-year college. And I love that it sort of is not just a one size fits all. So I'd love to take just a minute and let us look at this.
Okay.
If you wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
All right.
If only we could freeze time. With Florida prepaid plans, I can. It lets me lock in the cost of college today, and my payments will never go up. And while college may feel a ways off, it'll fly by.
Oh my gosh, that was so great.
Yeah, it was really fun.
It moves me every time. In fact, all of them move me. But it definitely comes back to when I remember when my children were little and how I felt. So you've done a brilliant job, and the whole team has. Talk to me a little bit about, what you were talking about earlier about the layering and how you shot different parts of it and so that it created that full scene.
Yeah, it's really a composite spot, right? So we shot it in a lot of pieces, and then we came back to Nectar, our production company, and kind of piece it together in post.
Okay.
So, but going in, we had done a lot of testing, and we kind of had a lay of the land. This is a one-take spot. So the delivery of the dialogue was all in one take. It's 15 seconds. And she had to hit certain marks throughout the room because we were going to have lava, going off over here. We're having, bullets fly past her over here. So, none of that obviously was shot practically in that particular scene. So our first job was to get the dialogue timed and get through this, get the spot, feeling natural, right? Without all of the chaos of the kids and all the things that we knew were going to be kind of comping together. So we did that, got that great. Our talent was amazing. And then we went back for a second pass, basically, and we shot the kids. So also all again in one pass because it has to be timed, exactly the same. So because the mom's reacting to the lava and, she's moving the dart out of the way. So we then shot the kids, so which, the kids were great. they all did such a good job. And you never know, right? I mean, you could have a meltdown any second.
Right.
So these kids were a little bit older, so that did help. And, we'll say, getting a director that is good with kids and knows how to like get on their level and communicate with them well
is critical.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was very important. And we had that in Mark. So so he did a great job. And, timing, there are nuances and stuff like that, getting all that right. So we shot all of that. Then we went outside into the driveway, and they had this huge tarp laid out where we practically shot the volcano erupting. So the base of it was on the counter, but the lava didn't come out. They were reacting to a fake explosion. And then we took that outside as our third pass, shot the actual lava coming out of it. And
it saved your set house.
Yeah, because we did talk about doing it inside.
I'm sure.
For a half a second. And then we were like, that's a real bad idea. So we will be buying this house. So we decided against that.
That was
yeah. But that was pretty much it. And then when we got back here, we had comped in, the bullet, the little darts coming out of the gun and stuff like that. So some of the stuff was pieced out of stock. So it was kind of, like probably 4 solid passes at layering this spot together.
Right.
So it, is interesting to shoot, that we do a lot of on-camera dialogue, right? People are delivering their lines and, we're, making the scenes beautiful and, the camera moves and the lighting and all of that. So this is a very different spot to shoot. And it was really fun. It's just different.
It was such high action.
And it was, and it was very technical.
Right.
So there's an extra challenge there of making sure, like when we get back here, this is going to all piece together, So.
And it did.
And it did.
Was gorgeous.
Yeah. And we had done a lot of like prep work on the front end. So we were very confident going in that we were, we knew what we needed to get and how we needed to get it and all of that. There's a lot of front end on that spot and the other, the elephant spot as well. But, anytime you're creating something outside of the practical shoot, there's, a lot of front end work that needs to be done to make sure that it's, by the time you get to set, you know exactly what you're doing.
Well, it was really well done. I know that it came in under budget or at least on budget. And, you made magic like you've done so many times. And it's always wonderful to get to work with you and shoot things that, mean something to people. And this is one of our, favorite clients. And so, bravo. You did a great job. And I'm so glad that I had you.
It's running right now. So hopefully people are seeing it.
Oh, I hope they are. I bet they are. In Florida.
Running
right. Well, I will look forward to talking to you again. We'll have to have you on and maybe we can do a Kristen Jen.
I know. Yeah.
Duo with
us.
It'll be fun.
An ACD duo.
I love that. Well, Jen Domaradzki, you're amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on. All right. Look forward to working with you again soon.
All right.
All right.
Day.
Thank you.
Bye.